Scott Silverman, welcome back to America Trends.
Mary, it's always nice to be here. Always good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So glad to have you here. Did you know it was Sobriety Month? Did you see my shirt? Sober.
Come on, sit up a little higher, because whatever it is,
There we go.
go.
Oh, something's blocking the
Help
view.
help me reduce the stigma. Get your
Exactly.
shirt up.
So, it's National Recovery Month. You and I talk about this all year long, and we try to help people all year long, but I do like that. I think it's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration that actually funds this month and sponsors it as a whole to really help get the messages out there and help, I think, end the stigma, help people know where they can get help, and help also people that may be, family members of people that are in or out of recovery get the help they need. So talk to me about, some of the things you're doing this month and where we're at with the crisis, the opioid crisis in general.
Well, thanks for that question. And two questions? Is that what you said?
That's a two-part question. Two-part question.
Two-part. Okay. Well, first of all, having a whole month is important. It's a shame we have to have a whole month. I remember when it was a day, then it went to a week, and so the fact that we're having this conversation is really important. And where are we at with the crisis? Unfortunately, since you and I last spoke, things have gotten, unfortunately, worse. They just continue to get worse, and I don't quite understand how that's possible when you think about the information and the access to information that we have, other than the fact that I don't think we're really spending enough time talking to young people and giving them the information that they need on a regular basis on platforms that really communicates to them. So that's part of it. And what am I doing is this. So, one of the things I want to do today, if it's okay with you, is I'm going to give everyone my number, and I'm going to challenge people to call me. And if they call me in the month of September, I'm happy to give anybody who calls anywhere in the country a 10-minute free consultation on how to navigate, what to do next, how to get it done, where you can go for help. And there's a lot of it out there. It's all, you go online and Google it, you'll find the answers. But I want you to call me directly if you're not sure where to go. And Google me, Scott H. Silverman. Call me at 619-993-2738. That's 619-993-2738. And within 10 minutes, I'll give you a couple of quick tips on what you can do with a loved one, or if you're suffering yourself and you're not sure what to do, because there are solutions out there. One of the things, though, the third part of the question that you'll probably ask next is, what's changed around the landscape? There's 800 numbers, there's crisis hotlines. The feds have finally put one up. They're talking about it at the White House. But, when they talk about things at the White House, by the time they trickle down to our community, they get distilled or ignored or just don't have the airtime. And what's going on with this country right now, unfortunately, we're talking about lawsuits and convictions and, impeachment and all the things that, probably are very important at a lot of different levels. But the mental health issues that people are struggling with is at an astronomical high. Suicide rates are up, overdoses are up, and that's the bad news. The good news is you and I are talking about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and I think that's sometimes I feel so overwhelmed, like, how can I help? What can I do? I feel so powerless. But all we can do is just do little steps like this and offer our phone number out, offer help. Now, because, it's interesting, you gave your phone number, and I know the experience of having that phone number on a piece of paper that's just within reach, but then the phone is 1,000 pounds. And you think, I can't make that one little phone call, make that step. So, we do encourage people to just take that one little step, make that phone call, and kind of go in micro steps, right? To not try to tackle it in a big picture. We just got to take, as in recovery, we say one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. Now, I want to talk about people that are friends and family of someone that they think might be struggling. John Mulaney just had a stand-up sketch where he talked about his intervention. I don't know if you saw that. It's a great comedy sketch. But it talks about very powerful things. He was really knee-deep in addiction, and he had an A-list intervention he talks about. And from your experience, are interventions something that work? Are they something, they seem very scary for loved ones. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I do a lot of interventions, and what I've found is, an intervention is kind of a broad-based term for a variety of different things and techniques that people do to help others. Some people will fly out to you and meet you at your home, and it's expensive. But at the end of the day, an intervention to me is simply like, for example, a heavy rain's coming and everyone gets warned about it and people go out and get sandbags. That's a form of intervention. It's a form of prevention.
Hmm.
When it comes to this disease of addiction, I think you really said it well. The phone weighs 1,000 pounds. It's hard to pick up. When your car breaks, you call AAA. You
Hmm.
know, when your toilet's backed up, you call a plumber. When it comes to this disease of addiction and someone is self-medicating, or you're seeing a family member that you love and care about who starts to deteriorate or has an amplified situation with mental illness and is depressed or anxious or is just talking about it, they're reaching out for help. It's not something that you should address as an individual. You should talk to a trained professional. You should give a call to an expert in your community. Call your primary doctor. Talk to your faith-based leader. Call a friend. I was just talking the other day to somebody at a high level in a big corporation, and we just kind of ran into each other exchanging that 8-second elevator pitch, and he goes, I just one of my best friends just lost a 17-year-old. So it's not like to an accidental overdose. So it's not like people don't know about it. We just don't talk about it like we do other things.
Right.
When our sprinkler breaks, if I can't fix it, I've got to call an expert to come in to fix it. It's
Yeah.
that simple, but you have to make the phone call. You have to be the one who reaches out. And if
Hmm.
you're afraid or don't know how, contact someone like me or contact someone that you trust in the field of expertise, or just someone who is some sort of a community leader. They'll find a way to connect it. But my guess is, if you went to 3 of your neighbors, 1 or 2 of them will tell you they've had an experience with it. So asking for help shouldn't be as hard as it is, but I need help are 3 of the hardest words for the average person to say out loud.
I mean, those are the words I said out loud on my first day of recovery. So I know that they work because they kind of open a floodgates of something going on. But I want to kind of follow through with that, is that asking for help and talking to experts. And also there's resources for, there's meetings of types. There's CODA, Al-Anon. There's definitely different programs for people that maybe don't need recovery themselves, but have a loved one that they can help themselves, because it can feel so powerless, right, when you're watching someone else struggle. So that there's help resources for them as well.
Absolutely. And not only are there resources for them, if you Google how to help a loved one who's suffering from addiction, or how to help a loved one who appears to be drinking too much, it's not that hard. It'll be interesting. You'll be interested to see how much information is out there. And I got to tell you, 9.5 out of 10 times, Mary, the phone call I get is not from the person who's suffering, but it's for someone who's close to them,
Hmm.
who's watching them suffer, who feels helpless, doesn't know what to do, and they've tried everything. And I said, look, if you've tried everything and it hasn't worked, you haven't tried enough, and maybe it isn't you who should be doing the helping. Parents want to believe they can love their kids to wellness, but when it comes, look, if we were talking about diabetes, nobody would go on YouTube and how to fix a child or a loved one.
Yeah.
They would take them to the doctor. And this is the same kind of thing. This is a disease of addiction. It's not a choice that someone's making. It's not a human failing. It is a disease. And if you think about that, really what you're doing when you're making a phone call is you're seeking knowledge to get the right kind of person aligned so you can get your loved one the kind of help and support that they need.
I love what you just said, and that was something I wanted to touch upon too, is that it's not that this is one of the myths I think that this month would be good at dispelling, is that someone who has an issue with alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be is not a bad person. They are a sick person that needs to get well. And a lot of times that shame within the person is bad, or we may criticize somebody that's doing something bad because they're a bad person, when they just have an illness that they need to fix. So they need to go to the doctor, right?
Absolutely. And when, the holidays are coming up now, and this is when a lot of the families will get together, and whatever that behavior is that's been going on will get amplified in a family situation. So, here it is in September. Why not start thinking about it and give your loved one a gift of sobriety by giving them the kind of support and help and tools they need, and maybe stop trying to do it yourself. When
Yeah,
I talk to
I love
parents,
that.
I tell them it's not their fault.
Right. That's a big message. We're going to end with that message. We gotta wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here, Scott. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. And there's help out there. So thank you so much. We're going to share your phone number, and also confidentialrecovery.com is the website to go to. Thank you so much for being here, Scott, and we'll be right back with more America Trends right after this quick break.